Hello, welcome back to the Evergreen RX. I'm your host, Hayden, licensed mental health therapist, Cancer Moon, and the first to get deep at any party. And I've got a good one for you guys today. I'm very excited because I have a very special question that I thought, you know what, I could call in backup for this because I know when it's time to consult with a fellow person in the wellness space to get some additional feedback and insights and wisdom for all of us. So I thought today's question was perfect because it is talking all about energy and how to cleanse our energy and guard our energy and protect our energy. And I know this wonderful woman, Izzy Swanson, who I decided I was going to phone in for today's episode. So you're going to see that consult in just a little bit. First, I'll read the question out. All right. Dear Evergreen, I've been noticing lately that my energy feels all over the place. Like some days I'm overflowing with this bright magnetic vibe and other days I'm totally depleted and foggy. It's confusing because it doesn't always match what's happening around me. I want to get better at tuning into my energy on a deeper level, understanding when to protect it, when to share it, and how to recharge in ways that really nourish my soul. But I also struggle with feeling guilty or selfish when I pull back or say no. How do you learn to read the subtle signals of your energy, create strong boundaries that honor your well-being, and invite more balance and flow without shutting yourself off or feeling disconnected? So, fantastic question, listener. And I'm going to call in my consult, Izzy Swanson, who is an incredible Reiki Master healer. I mean, she has so many accolades, it's hard to even list. And I will have all of her info linked below because after listening to her, you're going to want to find out more about her work and just continue to learn about how this type of work can totally change your life. But without further ado, let's go to my consult with Izzy to answer this wonderful question. All right. Well, I'm so happy to have you to consult on this topic and this question. So I just think we can dive right in. I want to hear your thoughts off the bat on this listener question.
So the thing that stands out to me the first thing that stands out to me is balance, like the up and down and the extremes of their energy. That's the very first thing. And they asked that question. So some of the things I think that come up in this hopefully will answer that. But what really struck me was the phrase, it doesn't always match what's happening around me.
Mm-hmm.
For me, that would be an indication that something external is impacting this person. Either something bigger, like something collective, like what people are feeling collectively and the instability in our world today and how that impacts us, or like astrological sky weather. Like those things are big things that affect us. And the way that I see that happening, like in a day-to-day way and in an individual way, is that we pick up on those things. And what they do is they amplify what we're already internally experiencing, what's happening to us as an individual. So I don't necessarily subscribe to them being like the end all be all of why our energy is a certain way. But I do think that they have enough of an impact that they make what we're experiencing much bigger.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also with this person really not concerned, but curious about their external environment. Like how long have they been feeling like this? How long has this up and down that hasn't matched what's happening around them been going on?
Yeah.
Because it makes me think that there is some sort of relationship attachment or intrusion that's usually caused because of some sort of conflict or push pull or codependency or things that are rooted in trauma, like people pleasing and attachment and all of those things. And I think they kind of reinforce that when they say that they feel guilty or selfish about pulling back and saying no,
Uh-huh.
like how they're worried about other people's reaction to their boundary setting. So I'm really not worried. I keep saying worried. I'm really curious about what else is going on in their life, like with their interactions and relationships with other people. Because I think there's more to it than just, hey, what do we do to protect our energy? Which I can definitely
Right.
answer. That's my first set of thoughts about this.
Oh, I love that initial read. And, this is with this new episode format of answering questions. This is the first time I've done like a consult, is like what I'm wanting
Yeah.
to call it. And I'm already so excited about that because you're pointing out so many things and so much nuance in this that I maybe wouldn't catch or be able to articulate as well as you're saying. Like,
Mm,
I really love you bringing in that level of what's happening astrologically, what's happening environmentally on like a larger scale, and kind of honoring that, but also saying, yeah, it probably is amplifying some of
mm,
what is going on more of like a micro or individual scale for us. It's not totally controlling it. Cause I think that that's one place that people can initially, even when we're having a conversation like this about energy, and um, that can be something that gets people a little bit skeptical or a little
mm.
unsure of things like astrology or whatever, because it's maybe impinging on like free will or things that
Yeah.
I don't know, that we already have going on in our life. And so I'm glad that you're speaking to that off the bat, and also, the attachment piece and
Yeah.
some of what's showing up energetically being mirrored then later in the question about, I kind of feel selfish pulling back and saying no. Now we're
Mm.
starting to see multiple layers that are kind of saying the same thing,
Right.
which is amplifying it in another way. Yeah.
Right. Because the truth is that whether you believe in like astrology, if you're a Capricorn or Virgo kind of astrology, things are still impacting you. And these kinds of things don't exist separate from each other. What you experience energetically is not separate from what you experience emotionally and mentally, and having to do the work of understanding why you're having a certain kind of response to things, and how your trauma forms the lens through which you experience all of it. So you may have something energetic happening, but the first barrier that it's going to hit is your trauma response, and how you
Mm,
view the world, and how you perceive what is happening, and how you react to it. And so that will affect how you talk to yourself about why it feels the way it does, or why you're doing what you're doing, or how other people might feel about you, and the dynamic that happens energetically in the flow between you and the world around you. Those things, it all goes together.
right. It's like puzzle pieces, and you really can't take one out or completely isolate it.
Mm,
Um, because then you won't have the full picture. And I think that's so, I really think what I'm hearing and what you just said there too is that like co-creation of the
mm,
energy of maybe the given relationship that we're in, or like interaction we're in. Like right now me and you are bringing a certain type of background and history, and you have your expertise and I have mine, and the ways that we're going to view this question or approach it, and it's creating a dynamic between
mhm,
us that maybe we could
mhm,
feel into, oh, what is this energy? Does it feel like kind of warm or easy or welcoming, or is,
mhm.
we could be two totally different people with different contexts, and it could feel kind of hostile, and maybe there could be tension or disagreement. And so adding in those layers of like, what kind of psychological experience are we carrying with us, and then personality, and you know I don't know, all of these different pieces coming together.
Right, right. Well, so that leads into this part where this person is talking about being out of balance, where sometimes they feel bright, magnetic, and other days they feel depleted and foggy and they're out of
Hmm.
balance. If there's some sort of imbalance that's happening because of an unhealthy attachment, or something I call an intrusion, where something really harmful has happened, somebody has said something really mean or hurtful to you, it will impact the energy body, and it will have all kinds of crazy effects. Like, it can cause you to feel completely drained. You can have emotional reactions that aren't yours. Like, you can
Mm,
be reacting angrily in a way you never would if it were a different circumstance or you've never done that before. You can have these manic ups and downs. Like, that's all a really common indicator that there may be an attachment happening here.
Mm,
Um, and so, yeah, that's another reason why it's important. Like, I wouldn't know for sure why this person's energy is going up and down, but I would want to determine that in order to help understand the right way to bring balance. Like, there's things in here that we can answer for sure. And I don't know if you want me to jump into those or you want me to give you space to
yeah.
respond to what I just said before I jump
Well,
into that.
I will. I was totally on that next step with you because it's making me so curious. Because I mean, for one, just personally thinking about my job as a therapist too, I'm like, oh god, like all of the energy all day that
Yeah.
I'm bathing in. I was so excited to talk to you about this question too because I was like, I think I could work on it a little bit, like,
Yeah.
um, and you reflecting how those, what is it you say, energetic or attachment, what's the word you
Attachments
just
and
used?
intrusions.
Intrusions. Yeah, the
Yeah.
intrusions. I want to know more about that and
Okay.
what's kind of going on there, and maybe that'll lead us into how we deal with it, or maybe protect a bit from that, or what to
Mhm.
do when you notice maybe there's some intrusions or some attachments that are affecting your energy.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So they're not too terribly different in that they have some of the same outward signs and symptoms. So an attachment is something that's formed between people. That's a relationship bond, and we have all kinds of healthy attachments, like you and your parent, or me and my kid, or my best friend. Like, we have healthy attachments, but unhealthy attachments, they pull or they push or they cause some kind of pain, and something has to be done to help the person who you're working with understand why they're holding their end of the attachment. Is it because they're sad and they're grieving? Something like that. There's something there that has to be resolved on this person's end before this part of the attachment can release, without being responsible for what's on the other end with the
Mm.
person we're not treating and we don't know what's going on. We have to help this person
Mhm.
here. But an intrusion is different in that it looks like, energetically, it looks like a dart or a sharp object or an arrow or something, and you can see it in the energy body. It's localized to one place. It can be anywhere in the body. In the moment of impact of somebody saying something really mean to you or really harsh or something abusive, or just having an angry outburst that you are not capable of working through in the moment, those things can hit you. Or like something that
Mm.
you take responsibility for, like somebody having an outburst that they need to have, but you feel like responsible for
Mm.
fixing it, and or fixing things all the time, and it hits you and you carry the burden. And it looks like a festering wound. Like, we actually have to pull it out of the body.
Mm.
And that one's a little different because you don't have to necessarily have some sort of relationship for that to happen. Right.
Wow. Yeah. So that's a really important piece, especially like if we're thinking specifically about maybe this person's propensity to a little bit more people pleasing, a little bit more concern with
Mhm.
what's going on for others, or some of that sensitivity and attunement. Uh,
Mhm.
would that make it more likely for intrusions and things like this? If you don't even have to have that attachment, I'm thinking, well, what if something bad, somebody gets mad near you at the grocery store and you hear this like really like,
Yeah. Yeah.
can that
Mhm.
be this intrusion that then you're having to deal
Yeah.
with?
Yes. Well, first thing I'd want to say is I don't want to make assumptions with this person, about what this person's like trauma response to the world is, because I don't know. I'd want to learn more about this person to be able to answer those questions for sure. But your question leads into the next part about answering their question about how to protect their energy, how to
Right.
share it, how to recharge it. Um, because yeah, if you don't have a stable energy body, yes, that makes you more vulnerable. And there are so many things that can cause you to be dysregulated or not have a stable energy body. Like, you could be worn out from having just chronic stress, or you didn't do your grounding and shielding, or you don't know how to ground and shield and protect your energy, or any of that, or because of your hypervigilance, because of a trauma response, there's something going on that would cause
Mm.
your energy to be more vulnerable. Things like that. Like there's just so many reasons. But yeah, those things can happen. Like somebody yelling at you or being really mean to you in traffic, yelling at
Mm.
you in the grocery store, like all of those things can do it. I often tell people when they leave my office to like avoid the grocery store because nobody's happy in the grocery store, and you're just
Yeah.
going to pick all that up, and you've come for Reiki and you're much more vulnerable and more open because you've had all this clearing. So maybe just go home instead for deal with groceries later if you can. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm so curious what we can do about it. Anybody
Yeah.
that's interested in, yeah, how do we protect and recharge too? That's another piece that maybe we could get into after, but
Right, right. So one thing I want to point out is that this person is asking when, like understanding when to protect and when to share.
mm-hmm.
Always. Always, always protect. Like this one isn't, this kind of leads into something you've prompted about some things for the end of the conversation, and I'll come back to, but we should always be protecting our energy.
Mm.
So we should always be grounding. We should always be shielding. We should always be cleansing. We should always be doing that. What I'll say, try to keep it brief. In order to have a stable energy body, we have to be anchored into stable energy. We need to be grounded and connected to the earth because it provides the support and foundation that helps us regulate our own energy. And then we build our shield after we're grounded, and we have a shield that's anchored into the earth. And
Okay.
we, from there, this idea of sharing our energy is really complex because we are people who have to connect with each other to regulate, but we should keep our own energy in our body. Our energy is
Mm.
our chi or our key, and we're only born with a certain amount of it in our body. So we should be keeping it in our body. So
Whoa.
when we share energy, it should be the ki or the chi or the prana that comes to us from the grounded, anchored energy that we are connected to. So, what should move out of our body should be the energy, the life force energy that comes to us from when we're anchored. So we should
Ah.
be keeping our energy in our body and allowing the external life force energy to move through us and connect for us and be how we interact. And that sounds simple, but it takes a lot of practice to do.
Yeah, like, 'cause
Yeah,
I'm like, "Whoa, I have never heard that distinction before." I'm also like, "What do you do if you've, like, given away a lot of your, like, personal energy before?" 'Cause what I'm hearing is it sounds like it's a finite resource, like, we're born with our energy, and we don't
yeah,
want
yeah.
to just hand that out, 'cause then we're going to be depleted from
Yes,
that
yes.
personal bank,
Yes. And that's
and
one of the
yeah,
reasons people
that's
get so exhausted or overwhelmed, because the other thing we do is we take in everything because we're just trying to make everything feel better. So we'll just scoop it all in and like, I'll take care of it. And then we hold
yeah.
on to it because we don't know that we need the flow and the connection between the elements and everything around us.
So, how do you distinguish between kind of giving out and flowing with that life force energy
Mhm.
versus your own personal energy and being able to keep that kind of in you and in your body?
Distinguishing between like when is it the energy, the life force energy that flows from the world around us, and when is it our own energy, is that you will start to notice physical symptoms over time. A common symptom is adrenal fatigue and exhaustion, and just exhaustion or anxiousness and overwhelm. And I know that these can be a lot of different things. So when you take them in a certain context, you can say, okay, wait a minute, this is an energy exchange happening. How do you feel? Like this person that asked the question, how do you feel energetically when you do say yes and you don't put up boundaries and you don't protect your energy? How do you feel? Do you feel stable and solid and safe in your body, or do you feel drained
Mm,
and worn out or overwhelmed? There will be indications that you're out of balance. And of course, that takes a lot more work because first you have to know what's my body doing, understand yourself, be self aware, go through all your work. This is why it's all
yeah.
not separate.
Yeah.
But I'd like to teach a technique to my students, which I'm just going to briefly describe here because there's just no way to do it all with the amount of time that we have. But what I was mentioning about grounding, you can take a few breaths and imagine that you're connecting your energy to the earth and then breathe it back up into your body. And then take a few breaths and reach out to the sun because the sun is what gives us life and bring it
Mm,
back down into your body. And then imagine that you have a ball of light radiating outward from you that
mm,
comes from that connection to the earth and that connection to the sun. And that's what you give out. And you keep your energy in your body and you let this energy flow out of you.
wow.
That takes practice though, because we're not thinking about it intuitively. We're not instinctually doing it because we just don't live in the world where we're in alignment with energy outside of us like that.
Yeah.
So we have to think about it and reset and be gentle with yourself as you learn it because everybody, including me, I forget to do it. Like, oh, I forgot. I'm not connected. Let me get connected.
Yeah.
And I might be able to do it easier, but that's because I've been doing it for 13 years, whereas somebody new might need a little bit more practice.
Wow. I mean, it's honestly pretty. I just think it's striking such a chord in me right now. And I hope anybody listening feels the same. There's like this sense of relief almost of like, oh, wait. Because, I've heard you hear more now about grounding, putting your feet on the earth. One, I have not heard about the sun, which makes so much intuitive sense when you say that, since it sustains life. And that
Yeah.
really kind of gave me a different feeling thinking about it that way.
Mhm.
Um, but also we hear about that stuff, but distinguishing between the life force energy and our personal energy
Mhm.
totally adds a different context because you use the phrase like protect your energy, which I
Mhm.
hear all the time. And sometimes it's like, you've got to protect your energy and say no and whatever. And it
Yeah.
doesn't always land. But when
Mhm.
you said it, I was like, wait, that makes sense. It's not, you're not closed off. It's not that you can't give out to people. I might think,
Mhm.
oh, how can I protect my energy and go in and do my work? Because I have to give so much, you know, energy and presence to people. But
Right.
there's a totally different source
Mhm.
that can come from. And yeah, I just think that check-in point of, if you say yes to something because
Mhm.
you kind of feel like you should or whatever, checking in and being like, well, how am I feeling? And is that, kind of giving more out? Is that not
Mhm.
protecting my personal energy? I mean, it's just like it just makes so much sense. And it
Yeah.
really, I think that's where the relief feeling is a little bit too. It's like, oh, it doesn't have to just come from me and deplete me. And like I risk burnout and being
Yeah.
resentful towards people. There's this source, this like abundant source from the earth and from the sun. And I'm sure many other things that fuels us. And we can like lean on that.
Right. You don't have to tough this out alone. Even
Yeah.
if kids, the kind of work that you do and that I do, like you have laws. I don't necessarily have them, but I honor them. We can't talk about what we're experiencing in sessions because we need to honor privacy. But sometimes, whoa, it's really heavy stuff. And you can't tough that out alone. There are things you can rely on. You can rely on the
Mm,
earth. You can rely on the elements. You can rely on something outside of yourself. So you're not having to do it all by yourself.
wow. Yeah. I feel like that's just going to hit home with a lot of people. And so happy and the way like the thoroughness and that you went about this question, but um I just think it encapsulates and brings together a lot of different things. And obviously you being trauma informed in your work, which I know is such a big part and so important in what you do, it just brings together a lot of pieces and I think really highlights an essential piece like that energy body that maybe we're not as
Mhm.
prone to think about, because it's just not as talked about as, more therapy mind and like,
Mhm.
your physical body. But it's so important, and it's like a
Yeah.
completely missing piece if we don't think about that.
Right. And we have to destigmatize some of the work around energy work, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot there for valid reasons. There's a lot of reasons why people don't trust it, but energy is still here. It's still real and still present. And
Yeah.
anyone who practices martial arts can validate that because we are talking about it all the time. Ancient Eastern traditions and other indigenous practices have been talking about this stuff before we got to modern therapy. And it's
Yeah.
still there, it's still valid. So we have to really destigmatize and get realistic about energy.
Yeah, I totally agree. And
Yeah.
so I want to bring
Yeah.
it to my question that I intend to ask all of my guests moving forward, because
Yeah.
my kind of, I guess, slogan for my podcast is your prescription for living well. It's always exploring topics related to how we can live well and intentionally. So I want to know what your top three things, your must haves, must do for living well, what they are.
So I want to say some things I already said, but I don't know that that's like, I don't know if you would like me to add some like things I do that help me live well.
Yeah.
So I truly believe that energetic hygiene should be a part of your life, your daily life. Grounding, shielding, cleansing, everyone, every day, all the time, all the time. It will mitigate so much interpersonal struggle. Um, so energetic hygiene, and also really, really, really making things smaller. Like,
Mm,
make it smaller in the like every single moment you can make smaller.
mm.
So as I go throughout my day, like when I'm making my coffee in the morning or anything, I just make the awareness every what's right now, because we
Mhm.
really don't have to rush as much as we do. So those are a couple of things. I don't think anybody really loves it when I say this one, but I absolutely rely on it. Write things down, get a journal, or find a way to get things out of your body,
Mm.
out of your body. Because we're holding so much inside and we don't always have safe places. We got to get it out, man. It's got to
Oh, I
come out.
think that, yeah, I think that is so true. It's like sometimes you just can't get unstuck until you say something out loud or you write it down or somehow, yeah, it's different when it comes out, and sometimes it's
Yeah.
surprising how it comes out too. You're like, "Oh, it's different than it was up here." And it's
Yeah.
so important. And I love your the three things for living well. And there was something that you mentioned that we didn't touch on,
Mm.
that either I wonder if there's like a resource you could direct people to, or maybe like a quick kind of
Mhm.
intro, or a little bit more detail on the shielding and the cleansing part of protecting our energy, or kind of our energetic hygiene.
Would it be okay to plug myself here as a resource?
Yeah, yeah, do it.
I wrote a book about it. It's just a
Oh,
little
nice.
manual, but I am writing a Reiki book, and that's coming out at the end of the year. So
Wow.
on my website, you can find both a book and an online class called Energetic Safety. There's a fundamentals of energetic safety and boundary work, and then there's an energetic safety manual. Um, Very briefly, your shield is built after you're grounded, and it's basically a bubble around
Mm-hmm.
you. Cleansing can be done with anything. When you take a shower, with incense, with a bottle of salt water, washing your hands when you go to the bathroom between clients, at night when you get home, doing something to actively clean away the energy you've picked up before you go throughout the day. Cleaning your house can become a ritual of cleansing. Sweeping is cleansing.
Mm.
Um, just as long as you're actively engaging your body in the act of cleansing every day.
Okay,
If you keep it
beautiful.
simple,
Yeah.
you don't have to make it that hard.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to immediately go to your website to the manual and everything. I actually saw that when I was preparing for this episode, and I was like, okay, hold on, I need to look at
Yeah.
that.
It's just
But
a little tiny book.
yeah, it's so helpful. A little manual. That's like what
Yeah.
we need. But I so appreciate you answering this question so thoughtfully. I'm like walking away with so much. And yeah,
Mhm.
like you said, I'm glad you plugged yourself, and I am going to have all your stuff linked below as well. So please, anybody listening, go find Izzy and work with her, especially if you're in Austin, because you do in-person
Mhm.
sessions in Austin, right? Yeah. So that would be amazing. I've gone to a practitioner at your practice that was like a couple years ago, but it was
Yeah.
amazing. So I really recommend. But thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me and letting me talk with you about these things.
Yeah, I loved it. Okay, guys, thank you so much for listening. I told you you wouldn't want to miss it. As I said, all of Izzy's information is linked below. So go find her or connect with her if you would like to. Let me know your follow up questions. If you want me to have another consult with her soon, who you'd like to see me consult with next. And yeah, send me your questions at 512-655-9888 or theevergreenrx@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok. Let's keep up the conversation. I so appreciate you guys being here. I hope you loved today's episode. It was so fun to have someone kind of comment in and we could brainstorm together and talk through this question and just gain so much insight and learning. I love to learn, so I love being able to do that through this platform with whoever in your life you think could use a little energy cleanse. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.